Hello friends and viewers, and welcome to my walkthrough for the upper zone of difficulty 6 in Tower of Adversity. My name is James, and today's video is sponsored by Sword of Convallaria. If you're a Sword of Convallaria player and you enjoy watching in-depth character guides and high-level battle replays, please consider supporting me by subscribing to this channel. If you haven't already, you and your friends can download Sword of Convallaria today through the link in the description below. This is a walkthrough for the Underworld Entangler boss. I will be reviewing the boss's skills and skill rotation, and what you can and should do round over round to combat the boss's mechanics. Some of the tips and knowledge shared here are also applicable to this version of the boss in difficulty 5. Let's quickly review the stage mutations. First, we have Gentle Breeze. This is a stackable buff that increases your unit's movement by 2 tiles during rounds 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and 18. You'll use this movement buff to move units out of swamp tiles, and you will also use this movement buff to move units with the Filth Spore debuff next to Foul Sprouts on the map. On difficulty 6, we have Deep Level 6. More Foul Sprouts appear in battle, and Filth Spore targets 1 additional target. On difficulty 6, the Underworld Entangler has 1,348,848 HP. The boss has a base speed of 200. Be extremely mindful of this with regards to turn order. Understanding and preparing for the boss's next skill cast is key to success. The boss primarily deals AoE magical damage. Having magical defense buffs or magical shields will be helpful to mitigate damage. First, the boss's trait. At the start of battle, several Foul Sprouts appear on the battlefield. You should already be familiar with these from difficulty 5, but you immediately see these on the map. These Foul Sprouts are destroyed with Filth Spore or Filth Release. These Foul Sprouts must be destroyed with Filth Spore only. If the Foul Sprouts are destroyed by Filth Release, you wipe. All attacks on the boss are considered front attacks. As a tip, because of this, if you are using any Union units, consider using Knightly Spirit. When Foul Sprouts are destroyed with Filth Spore, they summon adds, Silver Blooms, Toxic Blooms, and Bronze Blooms. Next, the boss's reaction skill, Humus Absorption. When the boss first enters injured and dying states, it will dispel all defense attribute debuffs and all increased damage taken effects from itself. Avoid wasting uptime on your debuffs. This means you should be using defense attribute debuffs and the Warhorn tactic to push the boss from unharmed to injured, injured to dying, and dying to 0. If, for example, you cast debuffs and Warhorn when the boss is at 71% HP, and your next character's attack brings the boss to 70% or injured, the boss will clear all debuffs and you waste valuable debuff uptime. This is a quick overview of the boss's skill rotation by round. The boss's basic attack is Vine Pierce, dealing 60% AoE damage to the 3 closest targets to the boss. The boss casts Vine Pierce only on round 1, so you won't need to worry about this skill again after round 1. The boss's next skill is Mudthorn Vine. The boss targets the closest character to him with Mudthorn Vine, dealing 75% AoE damage, inflicting the Bound by Sludge debuff and generating a swamp tile. Characters with high movement or mobility skills should bait the first Mudthorn Vine and immediately move out of the shallow swamp tile the following turn. However, recall the Gentle Breeze mutation will increase your movement throughout the battle to help you. The boss casts Mudthorn Vine on rounds 2, 6, 10, 14, and 18. The boss will also cast Filth Spore Strength. The boss locks onto the 4 farthest enemy targets, dealing 20% AoE damage and inflicting Filth Spore. After this initial attack, characters with the Filth Spore debuff must position next to Foul Sprouts in a specific order to destroy them. The Gentle Breeze mutation helps maneuver this mechanic. On the next turn, the boss will deal 200% AoE damage to all targets within 1 tile of each Filth Spore. If the skill hits multiple targets, the damage dealt is reduced to 50%. The damage dealt reduced to 50% is one reason why characters with the Filth Spore debuff should move next to Foul Sprouts. It is also a reasonable idea to inflict attack or damage debuffs on the boss to mitigate damage regardless. The boss casts Filth Spore on rounds 3 and 4, 7 and 8, 11 and 12, and 15 and 16. it will inflict the debuff in the preceding round, then detonate in the following round. In this map, I've color-coded in what order you should clear exactly which foul sprouts with the Filth Spore debuffs. Note that on the right, there are foul sprouts within 2 tiles of each other. It's possible for one unit to clear 2 foul sprouts with 1 debuff. The boss's final skill is Filth Release. Filth Release deals 50% AoE damage to targets within a 2 to 3 tile radius of the character's center. After casting the skill, the minimum and maximum trigger range extends outward by a 2 tile radius. The boss prepares Filth Release on rounds 5, 9, 13, and 17. Use these rounds to move characters out of its cast radius. Foul sprouts must be cleared with Filth Spore prior to these rounds. If the Filth Release cast hits a foul sprout, you wipe. After casting Filth Release on the following turn, the boss will cast Mudthorn Vine. Once again, this is the boss skill rotation by round. On round 2, the boss targets Mudthorn Vine on the closest enemy. On round 3, move the Mudthorn Vine target out of the swamp. The boss will cast Filth Spore debuffs on the 4 farthest units. Move them next to foul sprouts before the boss is cast on round 4. On round 5, prioritize damaging bloom spawns and move characters out of the boss's Filth Release radius. On round 6, the boss will cast Filth Release, then cast Mudthorn Vine again on the single closest enemy. The boss will then repeat its rotation with Filth Spore. When foul sprouts are cleared with Filth Spore, 3 types of bloom spawn: Silver Bloom, Toxic Bloom, and Bronze Bloom. By killing these blooms, you inflict a % of damage to the boss. Silver Bloom inflicting 1.5% HP, Toxic Blooms 3% HP, and Bronze Blooms 6% HP. Consider these a priority to kill or crowd control. You will still do damage to the boss by doing so. Silver Bloom's main ability is Filth Parasite. If left unattended after 2 turns, the Silver Bloom leaves the battlefield and inflicts the Filth Parasite debuff on the target for 1 turn. When the Filth Parasite debuff ends, it deals piercing damage equal to 100% HP to the target and summons 4 additional Silver Blooms around the character. The piercing damage is lethal, but can be dodged. For example, Recruited Assassin with 2 Fancy Footwork casts can soak the debuff, then dodge the piercing damage attack. Once the debuff ends, you trigger a total of 20 Silver Blooms back on the battlefield. Depending on your unit's AoE or if you are using Ragnarok, this strategy may work in your favor. Toxic Bloom's cast is Green Poison, inflicting 3 stacks of this damage over time debuff for 3 turns. It cannot be dispelled or immunized. Bronze Bloom's cast is Rampant Fervor, preparing a magical damage attack for 300% AoE damage within 2 tiles of the character. After casting, the trigger range extends by 2 tiles. These mobs have high HP and high defense. You can damage them down, but the most efficient way to kill them may be via knockbacks off the map. In the worst case scenario, you can use crowd control skills to reset the preparation effect. For a mid-battle tip, depending on the boss's health by round 7, you may consider avoiding triggering additional sprouts after its initial Filth Spore cast in favor of focusing more damage to kill the boss. You can still loosely stack your units together to soak the Filth Spore damage without triggering blooms. If the boss's health is too high, you can reevaluate again on round 11 or 15 after its next Filth Spore cast. For some free-to-play unit suggestions, to inflict level 2 attribute debuffs, consider Abyss or Night Raven. Inflicting attribute debuffs will reduce group damage taken and increase damage taken on the boss. Of course, other units that inflict attack 2 and damage 2 debuffs can be considered. Blade and Recruited Assassin with Fancy Footwork can be used to bait, control, and soak the Silver Bloom spawns and net more Silver Blooms on the battlefield. For Bronze Blooms, consider bringing units you are comfortable with knockbacks. If not knockbacks, recall the Rampant Fervor skill can also be interrupted with crowd control. For tactics, Warhorn is a great option to focus single target damage onto the boss. However, as a reminder, be mindful that the boss clears debuffs from itself upon entering the injured and dying states. Depending on your bloom strategy, Ragnarok is a great option. You can also consider Flag of Convallaria. Because the boss regularly inflicts AoE damage and is primarily single target focused, Hierophant's Laws is a great tarot to consider for AoE damage mitigation and increase single target damage and healing. Due to the number of bloom spawns, Temptation of the Devil is also a great tarot to consider as well. However, these tarot options are by no means mandatory to clearing difficulty 6. This concludes my walkthrough for the upper zone of difficulty 6 in Tower of Adversity. If there's anything I missed or if you have feedback for me, please let me know in the comments below. If this walkthrough helped you, please let me know as well and I'll be happy to hear. If you're interested in watching my difficulty 6 replay, it's available on my channel and the end card. Thanks for watching!